What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to talk about builds. Are they reliable? Should you carry them? And I'm going to give you guys a really good place to start to save a lot of money on builds. I have ridiculous amounts of builds. That's just a hobby of mine. Even though you don't always see me carrying builds, I have a bunch of them. And they're more just range toys, safe queens, and projects. It's just something I enjoy doing. People always ask, why do you buy something and then change everything out on it? Well, I don't. Typically, I'll start with just a Glock frame, because back in the day, before I released my source or where I get it from, these Glock 26 frames were only $60 OEM. Now, ever since I made that video and everyone rushed there to buy them, because the demand went up, the price went up. Now they're sitting at like $150. But before, I bought Glock 26 frames for $60, and that was a ridiculous start to a build. Glock 43 frames are still $60 to $80 online on that same source. So I also built a bunch of Glock 43s. It's a great way to go. So I don't just buy a brand new Glock and then change everything out. That's a little ridiculous, even though I get it, and I have done that sometimes. I'm going to give you guys some keys, some places to go, how to save some money on builds. But first off, I want to touch on reliability. So I got this Hellcat, and some of the comments said basically, you had a perfectly good Hellcat. Why would you do this? And obviously, I still have 3 other OG Hellcats, but this is my Hellcat build, right? And my other Hellcat build was Tyrant CNC parts, and what did I run into? Some issues. I ran into issues with the trigger, right? And even though I got it all sorted out at the end, it's still a handgun that I would never carry at this point. But I have another build right here. Now let's talk about what's different on it, what's the same, and what could potentially affect reliability. Also, I'll put in here that my wife and I shot this when we were on our trip a couple weeks ago. We put 500 rounds through it in this setup right here, and then 250 rounds through it with the OEM Springfield Army Hellcat barrel. And I'm also going to be getting a flush fitting barrel from True Precision for this to complete the build, whether I want to run it with a compensator or something like that for fun, or with the shorter barrel. But we'll talk about how it ran and all that. What's different on it? Well, you have an aftermarket slide. Not only are the tolerances going to be maybe a little bit different, but on top of that, you have weight dispersion. All the weight is different. You have a lighter front part of the slide and a lighter slide in general because you have these windows right here. You have cuts here. You got a little bit of weight here, which isn't the biggest deal. Then on top of that, you have an optic back, in the back, which obviously they test for and stuff like that. You got bigger sights, which add a little bit of weight. And you have a threaded barrel now, which even though it's fluted, it still adds a little bit of weight to the overall handgun, right? Even though it's basically stationary and just shifts a little bit while you're in the shooting motion. Everything ran flawlessly. The rest are OEM internals. Everything else is OEM. The frame is OEM, the trigger, the rest. It's just the barrel and slide. Now, typically what I have found out while, making my builds, I have a ridiculous amount of builds. I don't necessarily carry them all, but most of my carry guns have at least something changed to them, right? Or at least a good chunk of them. But builds are just, a hobby. They're fun. Some people build to carry, which I also do because I like to perfect my carry gun, because they're honestly, even though Glock is perfection, there is not the perfect Glock out there that, whether it's the sights, the grips, whatever the case may be. But in terms of reliability, that's what I mean by Glock perfection. I don't have issues with mine, even with some ridiculous builds with ridiculous aftermarket parts. We're going to touch on where to get parts from, who to get that. We're going to do it all in this video. Anyways, this thing ran flawlessly. And for the first time, my wife actually enjoyed the Hellcat. She enjoyed it. She liked my other one, but she thought compared to her Walther PPS M2, her 43, that it was just a little bit more jumpy. But this build she actually really liked, and she chalked it up to the frame and slide, which I get. The frame and grip, which I understand, because this thing just feels ridiculous on the hand. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, would I carry this? Yes, because it ran every single thing we put on there. This is an awesome, awesome setup. Where you start getting yourself in trouble is you start cheaping out. You go for the $50 barrel that you find online, the $40 barrel, the $80 slide. The terribly, I've gotten slides, I kid you not. I've gotten slides where when you put the barrel in, the barrel's bent one direction. They couldn't even get their cut even up front for your barrel. I kid you not. I should make a video on that slide because I still have it. But you'll never see me promote those products. Typically, if you stay with not necessarily the most expensive thing in the world, but if you just spend a little bit of money on stuff, it'll run. Typically. And another big thing is break-in. If you are going to change anything about your firearm, you need to break it in. You need to make sure not only that you test it, which is part of breaking it in, but also that you get all the tolerances to mesh together and the gun to finally come together. Your firearm might have issues starting off, but you need to just shoot it and let everything form. get a little bit of wear because something might have tighter tolerances and it just needs to wear in a little bit. That's the whole point of break-in, and I've seen that happen. This was good to go right from the start. No problems, no issues. Now, people always think I just buy a brand new OEM Glock and change out a bunch of stuff on it. That's not necessarily the case. Back in the day, before I gave my secret away, which was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life, I made a video on here where I get these frames from. I'd get Glock OEM frames for $60 a piece. Glock 43 frames, $60 a piece. OEM, $50 a piece. I kid you not. But then I made a video on it, and everyone rushed there. So what did they do? They doubled or tripled their prices. Before, I would just buy an OEM frame for $60, and that was a heck of a place to start, right? So something like this, you know, has an aftermarket slide, different pins, which don't really matter. This is an Invoke takedown lever, which actually works really well. Pierce grip extension, which Pierce worked hand in hand with Glock to create these, and aftermarket sights. Other than that, nothing, and it runs. Typically, with a lot of Glocks, they're going to run. Parts are going to mesh, stuff like that. What I will tell you now for builds, the best place to start is the used case. Right here, I got this Glock for $275. The frame alone, which can be used for a Glock 19, a Glock 23, or a Glock 32, right now you will not find anywhere for cheaper than $150. So paying $275 for this, I already have my $150 frame, plus the internals worked, all that. So basically, I'm starting off at a place where I can get rid of the slide. I can even sell the slide used on eBay, right? I can upgrade the sights, get a different slide, cut for an optic, all that. And by the time you're done with it, you're going to be sitting, once you sell the slide, stuff like that, you're going to be sitting around the price tag of $600, $700, $800, and you have a sick, fully built-out Glock, right? Same with the Glock 27s. I got a Glock 27 this year for $275, and they're please trade-ins. Once again, a great place to start because you have working internals, you have magazines, you have parts that you can sell from it, stuff like that. People, you know, own handguns and just need a specific part. So where do they go for that? eBay. If you part out each specific part slide, people even buy the OEM sights. I sell all my OEM sights on eBay. I kid you not. I sell all of my OEM sights for 20, 25, 30 bucks on eBay, and people buy them. What do they buy them for? Builds. It's crazy. So what I'll do, like I have a Glock 26 that I got for $400, brand new. Sold the slide for $250. Upgraded it to an OEM spec RMR cut slide. Paid for the sights, and paid for grips, and a base plate, all from selling that slide. I now had a new handgun that is exactly how I wanted it for cheap. Absolutely crazy. These are the North Forest sights, by the way. They're absolutely awesome. I love these things. They're just ridiculous. They're great. Absolutely love them. They're very, very accurate sights. Extremely accurate. But that's a great place to go because even though this is a Glock 27, all I got to do is sell the upper, you know, and change the extractor, and I'm good to go. I can make it into a Glock 26, a Glock 33, whatever the case may be. So you're not stuck with a Glock 27 or a Glock 23 in this case, and you'll find them everywhere. Even though I just kept these like this because they ran. For $275, a Glock 23 that's accurate as can be, had barely any wear and tear on it, just a few holster scratches and stuff. Who cares? It's a great shooting handgun. Absolutely love it. So, and if you guys are looking for holsters, code BLKOUT at Blacksmith Tactical. BLKOUT for 20% off and free shipping until this Friday, right? So builds will not always make your firearm unreliable. Another way to go, make a shield build. You can get used shields. This is a performance center. You can take this upper off and put it on a Shield Plus. That isn't cut for. So if you bought this for $300 and you bought a Shield Plus for $350, you could swap out the upper and now you have a performance center Shield Plus and an extra shield for the same price as buying a Performance Center Shield Plus. Like, you just got to learn to play the game, and a big place to go is eBay. As far as parts go, Henning Group for base plates is great. Hooper Gunworks for slides. They have a lot of cool slides, actually. Really nice slides. I have about 15 Hooper Gunworks, maybe 20 Hooper Gunworks slides at this point. Never a single issue. They have awesome slides. You can get sights extremely cheap on eBay. You know, True Precision, they make great stuff. I have Glock barrels from them. I have all sorts of stuff. Stuff from my other Hellcats. And they just run. Typically speaking, if you stay with more, I would avoid Zafari Precision. I have nothing against them, but I've had terrible experiences with them. Absolutely terrible. I know a lot of people who've had good ones, but for me, I can only speak on my situation, and I have had issues with the Zafari Precision. So that is one thing. But this build right here is absolutely flawless. It's sick. It runs great. And this is honestly, truly one of my favorite handguns. It really is. This thing is absolutely unreal. But like I said, there's great ways to make builds. You just got to think. People might look at you at the counter like, why are you buying a 40 Glock 23? Please trade in. Well, now I can turn it into a Glock 19, optics ready, blah, 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 for cheap. Like, it's just ridiculous. People do not think things through when you're building. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope I gave you guys some, some wins on this, right? Thanks for watching.